Well, the third week of our Celebrate Cities series kicks off right now.
This morning, it's time to dive into all things Long Beach. WXXV's Rob Knight is at Harbor U Cafe this morning with more fun from the Friendly City. Hey, Rob.
Hey, good morning, Ansley. Good morning, Grant, and good morning, South Mississippi. Third week of WXXV News 25 celebrating cities, and the trend, even though it's only been 3 weeks, we've been talking to local resident, prominent business owners, and the trend has been to wrap it up with the mayor. Now, this morning we're going to wrap it up a little bit later, but nonetheless, for the 8 o'clock hour, we've got the mayor, Mayor Bass of Long Beach. And sir, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and represent the city to the audience, and I look forward to visiting with you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you visiting with us. I've got a little granddaughter. She wants to visit everybody. She doesn't want to go see people. Can I come visit?
Absolutely. Come on down, and I'll visit with you this morning.
There you go. And, you know, Mr. Mayor, I've been telling the viewing audience about how tight-knit this community is. We've had about 4 or 5 guests so far, and I'm back here, you know, doing my little interview with everybody else, and there's a little party going on back there. It's like you people are all related, or at least known each other for multiple decades.
That's true. I'm a 5th generation here in Long Beach. I have a son, and he has 3 sons, so it's going to carry on, and they're all here. And then I have a tremendous amount of cousins, and I've seen some this morning, and I see some more that's coming in, and we had been at one time a small community, and with the development of NASA and more involvement here with the CB base, the more veterans we got that settled in Long Beach, the more we've grown, but we still have a large contingent. It's like I tell everybody, ask me if I'm kin to them before you start talking bad about them.
Oh, wow, that's a broad spectrum right there. First of all, I'm not talking bad about anybody that's here. And as a matter of fact, one of the rascals that provided us this quaint little eatery, you are also kin to him as well.
Yes, we share, our great-grandfathers were brothers, and so we're third cousins. And Robert was mayor before I was, and I was the fire chief, had been for a number of years, and people would ask me, said, are you kin to Robert? And I said, yeah, do you like him? And they said, well, yeah, and I said, well, we're first cousins.
Now, if they said they didn't like him or there was something bad, what was your response there?
We're distant kin. And now Robert uses the same thing about me.
Yeah. Well, you know what they say, what goes around comes around, and what's good for the goose is good for the gander, either way you look at it. All right, Mr. Mayor, you've been here for a long time. I don't mean that to sound like a bad way, but it's people like you, not just in public office, that we'd like to talk to, but because you've seen so much come, you've seen so much grow, you've seen so much development through your time, not only as tenure as mayor, but prior to that as well. Talk to us a little bit about it.
Oh, yeah, you're right. And it has nothing to do with my age, but it does have to do with my age. And I've been here, having my parents and grandparents here. The changes I've seen, I was 15 years old when Hurricane Katrina hit, and everything I knew on the coastline had changed, drastic change. And, we spent years trying to rebuild. And people who hadn't lived here through that has moved into Long Beach. They don't understand what it took to get us back to where we were. And then to have to go through the other smaller storms to get up to Katrina and realize that everything that we had rebuilt was gone. I was the fire chief, emergency management director, and I had to go out with people from FEMA to meet these homeowners. And it wasn't a house, it was their home. And a lot of the times it was folks that were in their late 60s, early 70s who had lost everything in Camille. And they had the opportunity to rebuild, and they did, and then they lost it again in Katrina. And I had to take these FEMA representatives out to meet those folks, and it was just hard to understand, that they had rebuilt their lives there here on the coast and then lost everything again. And we're struggling still to get rebuilt. Our beachfront is, of course, it still hasn't developed fully. We've got a large tracts of commercial land. that being on the beachfronts with the new guidelines and regulations from FEMA, you have to build up so high, so it can only be a commercial development. The residentials, you got a few small residential areas that's rebuilt.
Not to cut you short, real quick, but you bring up a good point as far as the elevation, everything that's being rebuilt along the beach. Is there a process in place to try to get that back to a realistic standard instead of having to build up, whatever the case may be, 12, 13, 16 feet above ground to satisfy that floodplain?
Well, I think it was about 3 years ago, we started working with SMPDD, South Mississippi Planning and Development District. They were working with not just Mississippi Coast residents and landowners, but they were working with the state of Louisiana, Texas, Alabama, and Florida. And I think they even went up the East Coast, maybe, trying to get some understanding to be able to bring those elevations down. I mean, you got to think about the time span between Camille, a stronger storm.
36 years.
Right, yeah. And then you go to Katrina. You know, that's a long span there, but it's still, you're going to get that damage when you face those storms. But FEMA comes in and I know they do research and they do things, but they issue these guidelines that you know, we were here and witnessed that the water in those two storms didn't come that far inland.
Yeah, the point I think you're trying to make, or what I can chime in on, is that when FEMA, they just laid the flood line from west to east across here after Katrina, it was like that is not realistic because there's some areas where that's 30 yards from the beach. There are other areas where it's, you know, a mile and change.
That's exactly what I'm talking about, and that stops, you know, people from reinvesting and rebuilding, you know, and we had a lot. There's a lot of people here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast before Katrina that were second homeowners, you know, and we have even went to FEMA and said, look, these folks want to rebuild. They don't want your flood coverage anymore. They want to rebuild, and you know, we're missing taxes there.
Yeah.
We missing people being here shopping, like here at this restaurant and the other restaurants in here and the boutiques and everything else we've got in Long Beach.
Yeah, like you said, not just affecting taxes, but tourism, and not to mention growth, local business owners, local residents as well. 2nd and 3rd Street, I've just seen that starting to get going over the past couple of years, but at least it is on the uptick as far as growth goes.
Oh, yeah, you know, the residential growth south of CSX railroad tracks has been tremendous. I wish I'd had the foresight to buy a couple lots, but I'm glad that we've got builders that did have that foresight to be able to come and start doing the things they did. You know, the previous mayor, Mayor Skelly, he had talked to one of our builders who had been out buying land and going through the development of the water and the sewer and the streets and all the infrastructure. And he said, he told the builder, he said, we've got all new infrastructure south of the tracks. Start buying lots.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, I want to thank you for coming down here this morning. Got here a little bit early. We appreciate it. And thank you for talking to us about this beautiful and proud city that you're in charge of. Thanks again, sir. We appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
Folks, WXXV News 25 celebrating cities, Harborview Cafe, downtown Long Beach, the quaint Jeff Davis Avenue. Joining us, Mr. Mayor, and we certainly thank him. WXXV News 25 continues, but right now from Long Beach, Rob Knight.